friends. We are live. Welcome back to the live stream. How's everybody doing? Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I am very excited after NGConf last week.
After what?
So after NGConf last week,
Oh yeah, I'm my my computer sounds like a jet going for takeoff, so everything is like really distorted and muffled. I might have to put on headphones today. All right, friends.
all
Yeah, we
right,
got some people in the building. Alexander in the building. What's going on? Developer home. Ninja. Let's go. Listen, Ninja comes into the building. Raj in the building. What's going on? Good to see you. Listen, Ninja
I'm
comes
bringing up the
into the
chat over
chat over
here.
here. All right, we got some people coming in. Let's go. Let's go. What's going on? Yeah, NGConf was last week. Jeremy, what was your favorite part about NGConf last week?
Oh boy. Oh, I'm getting some echo. I might have to put my headphones on.
That might be me. Hold on.
Let's see. Yeah, we haven't got our tech game on point today. Oh, hey, Brokey. Boy, so I've just been spending the whole last week catching up on my inbox after NGConf.
Ah, yeah. Okay, wait, before you say anything else, how's the echo? Is the echo under control now?
Yeah, I'm not getting any echo anymore.
Okay, that was probably me. I'm going to be honest with you. That was probably me. Yeah, but Mike B in the building, that was fire to meet you last week. I got to meet so many of you. Okay, people who are watching the live stream, how many of you were at NG yesterday or last week? I know Mike B was there. Oh, my mic is pretty quiet. You know, I've heard reports about my mic being quiet, Alexander. Thanks for letting me know. I've heard those reports. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to stay up close to the microphone.
Yeah. So Mark
So,
and I, we're working on our tech setup where we've got some things planned to try to make this a little bit more professional. But I
we're
did see
closer
some.
than we've ever been, though, Jeremy, to like getting it to the level that we want to get the stream to.
Yeah.
But we're also as far as way we've ever been. It's weird, but we're closer. We are closer. So, speaking of the tech setup, big shout out to anybody who does like professional streaming or even like hobby streaming. Like, big shout out to you because it takes so much work to kind of fuss around with all the tools to get your stream working. So, if you do live streaming and you got everything working, shout out to you. Wait, no, don't worry, Ninja. We're not gonna go like this is still our rebel stream. You know, we do this ourselves, so we're not gonna go to the level of like I don't know, too fancy. We just want to make sure that when we play games, the frame rate is good because that's our biggest pain point. Is that the frame rate is so bad when we play games when it gets
Yeah.
streamed. So we're trying to fix that. But everything else is going to stay casual. We're not going to
Yeah.
have sponsors or you know like sub count notifications, none of that stuff.
You don't want to
It's going
hear
to be user pricing.
about Google products and services on our stream, other
With
than
every
firing.
stream.
We will bring David East back, and he will talk more about Firebase just because we love it so much.
Okay,
So
JVA in the building. What's up, Josh? I got to meet Josh last week at NGConf. That was awesome. Josh, okay, so friends, here's one of the things, reason why, conferences are really cool and you get to like hang out with people. It was awesome to see Josh get on stage and do a magic trick. It was very cool. Very, very cool magic trick. So shout out to Josh for that.
So somebody asked, what game are we playing this week? Well, so there's a story there. This is my graphics card. It doesn't work anymore. So about a week ago, this just completely died on me. And so we thought we would take this as an opportunity to this week, instead of playing a game, we're going to make a game. So, should I go ahead and share my screen, Mark?
Let's do it. Let's make this game. Yeah, we're gonna make a game, which is what
So,
I think some of you who started with us assumed that that's what we were gonna do. So we're actually gonna do it.
so I'm gonna have to share my whole screen, Mark, and then I'm just gonna have to minimize you so I don't get to see your crisp
Ah,
video feed there.
it's too bad. That's too bad. All right, I'll allow it. Go ahead, share your screen, and then we'll get you up here.
All
Let's
right.
see.
So you can see
All
my whole
right.
screen now.
So what are you using? Let everybody know.
Oh, I mean, so uh, we're just gonna let's see. How do I'm gonna get this dock down here. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just getting my screens my windows all set up here, and then you can go up there. Perfect. So I'll increase the font sizes on everything. Cool. So obviously using Angular CLI to run an app. So I'm going to go ahead and get my ng-serve here running so that my local host will come up here. And I've got WebStorm over here. I will increase the font
Yeah.
size on this as I go. But let's go ahead and localhost 4200. Cool.
And
So
do
this
you
is
want to change the ratio? Maybe make your editor bigger than your browser?
I can. This is actually the width I normally keep my editor.
What?
So yeah. So I keep it at 100 lines, and so this is what 100 lines fits.
Oh, and so that width is what, 80 characters wide?
No, it's 100 characters.
Oh, 100 characters. You said 100 lines. So that's what I
Oh
was
yeah,
like.
no, 100 characters.
Okay,
So
can you
we're gonna
zoom in
be
just a little bit on
yeah. I'm
your
gonna I'm
editor?
gonna zoom in as I go. Actually, here, maybe just go into like
I know they have Zen presentation mode too for JetBrains tools, but I don't know if we need to use that or not.
yeah. So I use WebStorm. I'm a huge WebStorm evangelist. Love it. I can't imagine life without it. I'm going to try increasing my font size to 16 here across the board. Did that do
Every
anything?
meeting. And when he says he's huge into WebStorm, please understand that he's not kidding. He actually talks about WebStorm every time there's a chance to talk about it. It comes up, so he's into it.
Let's see. The font. Why didn't that get bigger? Oh, here. Go to there. This is what I want. So let's change this to 16. Okay, there. How's that on the stream?
Yeah, friends, let us know what you think about the current size. Type it in the chat so we can know.
Yeah. So that's still
Well,
small.
if we
That's
get a
still
lot of
16.
comments that people
Okay,
can't see it, then we'll go from there.
right here. I'll bump it up to 20. That'll probably be good. Yeah, that's got to be good. That's huge.
Okay, and then Jedi says 20. Sorry, Raj, then Jedi, Josh are all saying that it's coming in. Alexander says still really small. Parth says I'm learning Angular
Whoops.
and it's fun. I'm so glad that you're learning. Is that Firewatch on your desktop?
Yeah, that is my desktop background. It's just Firewatch.
Let's
No
go.
icons. That's the way I roll. I love Firewatch. I
All right.
actually have one of Ollie Moss's prints on the wall in my hallway that I like absolutely love.
Oh, that's
Ollie Moss,
rad.
spectacular artist. But yeah, let's get into our game, right? You're not here to see my desktop background.
I
So
am.
we're gonna build a game of spades. So
So tell people what spades are, Jamie. Jeremy.
the spades is a card game, and I think explaining it would take more time than we really want to spend. But all you really need to know is as a playing card game, and I'll kind of explain it as I go with coding.
Yeah. So,
So
but it's played with like a regular, like a standard deck of 52
yeah,
cards.
standard deck,
So,
52
yeah.
cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your four suits, your two through ace. So let's go ahead and start building it, right? So I haven't really given this much thought on how I'm going to do this. So this is going to be very improv. So first things first, I'm going to just delete everything. So I'm just going to put H1 spades just to like prove that it's still rendering something. And then I'm going to go here and title equals spades. I don't know why that's here. I'll get rid of that. Do, do, do.
Okay, so I'm gonna fill in the gaps while you're switching files and stuff. So he just took his app.component.html, the generated file, removed all the default stuff because we have some people who are just learning Angular still.
Yep. And I'm not going to necessarily build this as like full best practices. I'm just going to try to like get the game working, and then we'll refactor as we go, right? That's the whole thing, is we refactor as we go. So first things first is I want to create a card component, right? So I'm going to need to show playing cards. So let's say Angular schematic. Here, I'm just showing off like the stuff WebStorm can do for you. So I'm going to just call this card. Cool. Do I want to share information with the Angular team? Yeah, I do. That helps us.
Are we using the latest version of Angular for this?
Probably. Let's see. Yeah, this is 14.2. Okay. So I just created this app earlier today. I just ran ng new with a couple of options, so you didn't have to watch me install node modules on stream.
That's my favorite part.
So, yeah, we're going to create a card component. We've got that here. I will add those. Excuse my cough. I'm still had COVID several weeks ago, and I'm like still carrying a little bit of a cough. So for our card here, let's go ahead and make the selector. I made the prefix for the whole app SG for Spades Game. So I actually don't need any of this. So card is going to have two inputs. It's going to have a value, which is a string, and it's going to have an input suit, which, all right, I'm going to be like super extra here, and I'm going to say spade Unicode character.
Okay, wait, slow down for 1 second. So we got to give the people context. So Jeremy has experience as a competitive programmer. So he's going to code this pretty quickly. So if you have questions about what he's doing, leave them in the chat, and then I'll surface those questions up to Jeremy as we're kind of going through it. Okay? So he's going to like be really cranking this out because I think the goal is to get a working version of this stream.
Oh, see, that's not what I want. Oh wait, there it is. Yeah, heart. So I'm doing something that's like pretty silly, but I think this is actually going to be pretty nice.
Diamond.
Is that the diamond I want? I don't know. That's the diamond I want. Here. What if I just say?
Why don't you just use emoji instead of Unicode?
Emojis are Unicode. There we go. This is what I wanted. So here's the heart that I wanted. Okay, that it actually is. It makes it red for some reason these days. Oh yeah, because they're red, because that's what color the suit is. Cool. So yeah, so this is actually neat because we don't have to deal with any icons just by using these like Unicode characters for these. And we also get type checking, right? Like we will actually only be able to use these for—
Because why?
Because this is taking advantage of TypeScript's string literals. So, and these have no. So I'm gonna just cheat here and throw like these here. I didn't import at input, so input here. Cool. So we're compiling. So yeah, TypeScript will only allow one of these four values to be assigned in a suit now. And we get to render it right out. So let's go ahead and make a template for this thing. for our card, let's go ahead and add some styles first. So we're going to have our host here. Let's just say border 1px solid black, and let's give it a little border radius of like 2 pixels. And because we want all of our playing cards to be the same height and width, let's just go ahead and like set a fixed height and width. I'm just going to say height 300 pixels, width 200 pixels. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like by putting a card here. SG card. And we should get that height and width there. I just got kind of a black line.
Is that because? Oh, that's because there's no content. So what did you set for your styles for your div?
Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot a very important part, which is I forgot to say display block.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, that 2 pixel border radius isn't really cutting it. Let's try 8.
7. Oh, close. I guess 7 you were gonna do, what you did 8.
You know, I always use like powers of 2 for when doing stuff like this, for like border radius or margin padding. I don't know why. I'll do like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32.
That's all right. Wait, we got to shout out some people as you're doing this. Let's see. Rodwin coming in clean. Listen, live coding is just a part of the it's a part of the game. It's got to be in there. Poor man codes. Do you still need more zoom on the code? Let us know if it's still too small. Let us know. Let us know.
So we'll put our value in suit right there inside the card, and then let's go ahead and bind a couple of values just to see what that'll look like. So let's say value equals 4, and suit equals that diamond. And yeah, so we'll get 4 of diamond there.
So Jeremy, why didn't you have to use property binding for that?
Because these are static, right? So if I wanted these to be dynamic, I would do that and bind them to an expression. But when you do this, you're basically just assigning these as literal values.
Because we can be sure that we're not going to change the value of the card throughout the game, friends. So that's why we're doing that.
Well, I'm just testing out the card right now. We're going to bind some stuff later, but I just want to like make sure it looks correct now.
Good point.
And we're probably going to change the size of it. I feel like this is actually a little big, so I'm going to go ahead and like cut the size of this in half. So
the card.
Go back to my card here. Let's just make this 150 and 100. So yeah, that's a more reasonable card size. And let's also, this is something I always like, text align, center. I think we want to do that. No, you don't like that? You like it on the top left?
I liked it in the corner because remember you have the upper left, you have the lower right, and then you have the center. So if you did this in the flex, you could do your 3 items, you know what I mean? Then the center one could be the big one. That's if you get fancy. We come back to that.
Let's also set font size here. Let's set this to like 4 EM. Yeah, it's pretty good. Too big?
No, leave it.
Yeah. 3 is good. 3 is good.
Yeah, leave it.
Run. The only other thing is we want to make this red when our suit is either a diamond or a heart. So let's go ahead and just add a little bit of logic to the card here. So we can say, let's add a host binding.
What's a host binding, Jeremy?
Host binding is something that applies to the host element. So in this case, it's going to apply to the like SG card here. So we're going to add class.red. And we're going to assign that if suit is equal to that heart. And actually I have to, see, this is a nice feature about WebStorm. I pasted a string literal inside of a string and it auto escaped it for me. Isn't that beautiful? It's not what I want because I want to just use double quotes here. But more suit equals, and we'll grab that diamond symbol. This is the annoying thing about using these Unicode characters is I can't type them. And so now we'll come over here back to our styles and we'll just add red here and we'll say color red. Save that. Why Why didn't that work? Does this card have its red? It has class red on it. Does it not apply to the host element? Let's can we say host ampersand dot?
Wait. All right. Hold on. I have to moderate the chat a little bit here. Hey, friends.
There we go.
No need to argue over which tool is better. You all we're watching an Angular stream, having a good time. Let's just have a good time, friends.
Yep. Like if you've watched our stream before, you know our philosophy is like, hey, everything is good.
Yep.
Cool. And so I realize I don't actually want this block. I'm gonna want this inline block. Cool. So that's our playing card.
Alex was actually on my side with the display flex. Oh, that's Alex. Alex, get out of here. What's up, Alex? Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Oh, that's funny. I didn't recognize it for a second. That's Alex. Alex, that's great.
All right. So we have our card component, which is the kind of fundamental thing we need here. And so now we are going to want to create a maybe like a card data structure, right? So let's also just create a new TypeScript file. Let's just call it card. I'm just going to call it card. Ask again, add to get. And so we'll just say export interface card. And actually, I'm just going to like steal these from over here. I'm duplicating myself, but I can fix that.
Yep. Right now, we just got to make it work. Make it work. Make it right. Make it fast.
That, don't do that. I don't need this input thing. Cool. If I wanted to, I could just be like extends card over on the component, but whatever. So I'm going to close everything now because I opened up too many files. And so next thing we want to do is we're going to want to have like a player, right? So let's go ahead and make a player component. So let's do another Angular schematic. We want a component, and we'll call it player. And we've done that. We'll hop over here. We're going to player. Git add all of those. Git add. Boom. So what is a player going to have, Mark?
Maybe a name if you want. You could have a player number.
Yeah, so we're going to want inputs here. We're going to have input for a name, which is just string.
Yeah.
Why don't you like name? Name has no initializer. Yeah, like don't do what I'm doing. I'm just saying like not nullable for all of these, but don't do that in a real app. This is only for demo purposes.
No, you know it's not going to happen. Somebody's going to tweet
and then I'm going to have it
to do that.
Input for a hand, which is going to be a card array, and we'll just actually initialize that to an empty array. And so we'll want to import for card there.
Now TypeScript won't make that a never type, but you know how it does it sometimes, where it'll make it like empty array of never.
Well, I've explicitly told it that this is a card, so it should infer that this is an empty array of card based on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And then, so for our app, which we're going to kind of treat app here as our like main game. This is the place where our like game logic is going to live. So we're also I'll create an interface for player. That's kind of the same thing here. Again, this maybe is not the like ideal way of doing it, but let's just call it player. I'm just kind of freewheeling. So we're going to say export interface player. Yeah, like I shouldn't be duplicating these things. So I'm going to fix this in a second. But so
you know we're going to start making you do to dos in your app so you can remember to fix all the things you said you forgot.
Yeah, so I know what I'm going to change already. Instead of having these primitives in the components, I'm going to that, get rid of that. So let's go back here to this. I'm actually going to
All right,
I'm just going to
we
delete
got
all
one
of it.
small thing. People still can't see the code. Still a little too small. Anything we can do there?
Still at font size 20. I mean, I can make it bigger.
Yeah, and people keep saying I'm too low. Oh, wait a minute.
Is my thing too small on the stream?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not hard anymore. So also gonna uh, this is kind of silly, but card. Import that, and then we're gonna go to this template, and we'll just say card.value.
Okay, so the microphone thing, I don't know how to make it any louder. Is it loud enough now, or am I still sounding too quiet? You folks, let me know.
Your microphone sounds fine to me.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man. So it's like super low. Like the reading right now is super low, in terms of StreamYard tool thing that we're streaming with.
So let me pop up the stream real quick. You're gonna get an infinity mirror, but oh yeah, that. Let me make my font size a little bit larger then, and
Yeah.
that'll probably do it. So let's go all the way to 30. All right, hopefully that's big enough.
Okay. Good. No, I think that's gonna be great.
Cool.
Okay. Wait. It's okay for both of us. Khalid said it's okay for both of us, but I will just talk a little bit louder, just so it comes through on the mic. I'm just used to not having to talk so loud, but I'll talk a little louder and wake up my neighborhood. And it's all good. Okay, Jeremy, I'm going to tell you from the stream that looks really good now. The font size.
Cool. So I don't want card. I want app. So app is going to be our game, right? So this is where all of our game logic is going to be. And again, in real life, you would probably create separate class for this and drive your game from somewhere else. But I'm just being lazy. So the first thing we're going to need to do is create a deck. So we're going to say our deck is equal to our deck is going to be a card array. And we're going to have to create a function to initialize this deck. So let's
Wait, how come it can't be like Java with an array list and you can give it this initial size? Come on, TypeScript.
I mean, that it's because JavaScript doesn't have real computer science arrays, right? So in Java, right, when you allocate an array, you specify a size because that is the amount of memory that uh, the code is going to allocate in order to fill stuff in there. JavaScript doesn't have anything like that, right? An array in JavaScript is actually kind of the analog to array list in Java.
Mm-hmm. But even with the array list, you can tell it the initial size.
You can. JavaScript just doesn't have that kind of
And I'm
optimization built in.
mad. I just want to be mad about this one. I love JavaScript and I love TypeScript. I just want to be mad.
So we're gonna go ahead and go to our card.ts here, and we're gonna add a couple of other things. So we're gonna say export const suits. I guess this should
I agree with
be
you,
caps
Redwin.
like that. It's controversial whether or not this should be caps or not because you're assigning it to an array. So I'm gonna actually just leave it lowercase. So we're gonna just grab all of these again here and replace these with commas. Cool. And then we're going to say export const values equal. Now I could create a loop or something to generate, 2 through whatever and ace, king, jack, queen. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to hard code them because that's faster. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, jack. No, 10's a card. 10's a card. Jack. See, why didn't they do 1 through 9 instead of 2 through 10?
Oh, you got a problem, Jeremy.
Queen and ace. Cool.
And
How did I put 1?
are we just gonna like skip the jokers then?
Yeah, no jokers. That's not part of spades. So we got these. We got our values, our suits that live there. So we're gonna also then import. Well, let's call it card values because that is a little card suits. That's a little more specific. So we're gonna import card values and card suits here. And we're going to create our deck. So this is going to return a card array. And we will equal, we'll just create deck here.
Well, the streets are saying suits should be read only.
Should be read only. I mean, yeah. They can all be read only. It doesn't really matter in this app, but I will indulge us.
I'm just
no, you know what? I'm actually not going to do that because it's easier to not.
All right.
So for const s of card suits, we're going to just kind of initialize here. Because my card is not a class. So this can be read only, yeah. And then we're going to say for const b of values, say const result deck equals array, and we'll say result deck dot push, and we're going to say a card which has a value of B and a suit of S. This will return.
So they really want us to use Copilot.
Well, I don't pay for that, so. And what is this complaining about now? Value in suit string. So it says string. Why does this? Actually, gonna have to. Here. I think. That's it. And then we're also going to want to shuffle this, right? Like we don't want to return this like in order deck every time. So also this doesn't need to be a class function because we're not using this anywhere. So we're going to just move that out to a module level thing here. Indent that back in. It's this. And then we'll have function shuffle here. So this is going to take a card array. We'll say deck. That's a card array. And it's going to return a card array. And we're going to use the Fisher-Yates shuffle to do this. So the way you do that is by going to Wikipedia for Fisher-Yates shuffle. Yeah, this Fisher-Yates shuffle. This is kind of your go-to algorithm for shuffling anything. And so if I remember how this works, so first we're going to like clone this array. Well, let's just go ahead and edit it in place. In real life, you probably want your shuffle algorithm to like create a clone and then return the clone shuffle deck. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to mutate it because, again, I'm just going for speed and I'm being lazy. So what you
All right.
do is you walk through. So let I equal 0, I is less than deck.length, I plus plus. So we'll start off with a basic loop, right? And we are going to swap the card at this index with a card at a random index, right? So this is something I actually see people kind of get confused about. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, I'll shuffle it, but like I'll just like go through and randomly like assign things when it's really about the randomness of the swaps." So we are going to say const swap index equals math.random, and we want a number that is in between our current index and the end of the array. So um,
Can you do like times 52 minus 1 or something? Not, or like times 52
well, no, we don't
or.
want to do that because we don't want to swap things that we have already walked through. So I could be getting this wrong. So if anybody wants to correct me in the chat, but um, so you walk through, you grab a random integer such that it is in between your current index and the end of the list, and then you just swap those two things, right? It's very straightforward. So the range we want here is deck.length minus I. And I think we're just going to want to math.floor that. Like that is the range. And so just kind of thinking this through, I feel like I'm missing something in this random calculation, but this isn't the point of this coding exercise. So let's just leave it at that. And then we are going to just swap these two things. So when we're swapping, we always need a temp value. So we'll say like,
No temp values.
What are you talking about?
Just use the structuring thing with the brackets. Just put put them in the order that you want them to be in the swap index.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Save
We
yourself.
could do that. It's more work because you're creating a whole new array, right? Like there's a performance hit in doing that, right? So we're going to be like every iteration of this array, we'd be allocating a new like basically two new arrays in order to do that, right?
Two tiny little garbage collecting ones. But okay, you can do your swap. Go for it. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. This one. This is what I'm talking about.
so here,
From
let me
Uno.
see if I get what you're saying. So you're saying it's saying like deck is equal to an array that is how do you like because I'd have to splice it, right? I'd have to splice
Mm-mm.
out from
You shouldn't have to. You should be able to just put like square bracket deck index one comma deck index two equals square brackets deck index two comma deck index one.
I mean, it's a 52 tard deck, right? So I'd have to say like deck equals, and then like pseudocode here, right? But this is like um the slice from of deck from 0 to I, right? Then you would need uh deck of J. Then from J until or from I plus 2 to J, I feel like that it's
Well,
much more complicated than just swapping
so
it.
you're sure that this wouldn't work? Like a square brackets a comma b equals square brackets b comma a. You saying that would not work here in this case?
Hold on, paste me what you mean.
Sure.
What do you got? Send it to me on Slack.
All right, yeah, I'll send it to you right now because I
people
need
are
you
people are gonna
there.
see our uh don't
Yeah,
grab our
no,
StreamYard link.
yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, that's what I'm saying.
But what are A and B here?
A and B would be the deck of square bracket of your index for whatever the target is. You see what I'm saying? So it would be deck of I, comma, deck of swap index equals deck of swap index, right,
right?
equals the opposite of that, the reverse order of that, outside
That's
of the
not going to do
array.
anything to deck though. That's not going to mutate this array.
The values will. It'll, if you do equals after, and
But no, like,
then,
you say like that.
nope, the other way. On the other side of the square brackets. Yep. And then square brackets, deck of swap index. That will swap them without you needing to tap.
I
Try it. If it doesn't
hold on.
work,
This is something I actually like. I don't know that I've ever used this.
yeah.
So
Yep.
you're
And
telling
then,
me, so this is going to create a new array, right? That just has these two elements. And then this is going to assign this. I see. This is going to assign this to this and that to that.
but it won't be an array though. At the end, I know it looks like it's going to create some arrays, but this syntax will just swap those two elements for you.
Yeah, I see. Like, so you're just taking advantage of the like destructured assignment
Right.
operation.
That's I couldn't think of the name
But
when I
like
said
this,
destructured. Yeah.
this is creating a temp variable, but instead of a single temp variable, it is an array that has those two two temp values in it, right? So it is like doing the same thing in a more confusing way.
Well, that's because you have arrays. If you didn't have arrays, it'd be super fast and super fast to like grok. I don't know. I'm not saying performance,
Yeah, I mean,
but
I get what you're saying here. Like,
yeah.
maybe this is a taste thing. I think this is more confusing than just like doing a temp value and swapping the two.
Oh, sure, potentially.
Um, yeah, that's why I was kind of having a mental block on what you were saying, right? Like you're saying like you're introducing a temp value here and then like doing this destructured read out of it.
Right.
But sure, we can keep that.
Yes. I just like that syntax because it came around in the
So
ES6.
we're actually mutating this now, so we're not actually going to return anything. So this is void. So let us then.
Hey, Nuno, you were supposed to be on my side. Nuno says the temp value is more clear. Nuno, stop it. All right, you were just on my side when you suggested it, and now you're going against me. Unbelievable. No, it's all good. It's all good. I get what you're saying. It probably is more clear, maybe.
All right,
Maybe.
so let's go. Let's go back here. I want to
Jeremy,
get
I
back
forgot
to
you were
that.
sharing your whole screen. That's funny.
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Why am I breakpoint? I didn't mean to breakpoint on anything. Cool.
He will
So
not, Raj. Jeremy does 100 characters. This is how he works. This is the magic. All right, this is the way it is.
now let's go into our template, and we're gonna print out the deck.
Wait, let's
So
see what happens. Because my stuff might not even work that I just asked you to do.
let's see. So we're just gonna put an ng container here so we can ng4 equals d or what, let d of deck, and then we're gonna put our card here and just say bind card is equal to d. And there's all of our cards. They look super messed up for some reason.
We got a bunch of blanks too.
Yeah, none of the red ones are rendering.
Nope, no reds and no blanks. Oh, maybe nope. I wonder what the blank ones are.
Oh, that's weird. Why aren't the red ones rendering? No,
Is it
hearts
because
are
the
here.
host got changed with the ng container by any chance? Something weird like that?
No, that shouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
This is funny. Why doesn't this work? So first of all, I'm also gonna come in here real quick and just put a little.
Rowan said, if it works, maybe. See, Rowan, you're right. It may not just work.
We're gonna just say SG card is gonna have a
Josh Villa, what's
margin.
going on? Good to see you. Raj really
So
likes this, by the way.
it's shuffling.
Okay.
Like every time I refresh here, you can see it's in a different order. So the shuffling is working.
What are those weird blank cards though? Why are they not in the display flow?
Let's find out. So let's have add a little debug real quick. So um, let's come in here to our card. Let's go to a card component. So card component.
Do you have DevTools installed by any chance?
Angular Dev Tools? Well, I do
Mm-hmm.
have Angular Dev Tools installed. That's a
Yeah.
good point. I could just look at this in
Yeah.
Angular Dev Tools, inspect element here. Here's this card. So this card is undefined. So somehow we're ending up with undefines in our deck. So let's just go ahead and go to our app here. And I don't see how that could be possible unless our shuffle, it's probably the shuffle is actually wrong.
Probably.
That's the part that's the silliest.
Oh, because you know why? You know why? I can tell you. Those undefined cards are outside the range.
Oh yeah, you know what? This should be length -1, I
Somebody
think.
told us that already, and it was Khalid. Khalid told us that like probably what like 9 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't attack my swap, Raj. Do not attack my swap. It is the cards are out of range.
Is this so? Whiles less than. Wikipedia says -2. There's all blank ones here. J is a random integer such that it is I is less than or equal to j, and so I'm pretty sure this is where my problem is this line right here. So I'm just gonna console.log swap index. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of things printed out on the console
But at least we'll
here,
know.
and we'll see. Yeah, there's some negative ones in here. So deck.length should always be greater than I. So this should always be positive. Math.random is going to be between 0 and 1, so that should always be positive. So why are we getting negative numbers, Mark? It's because of order
Because
of
we get a
operations.
0.
It's because
and
of order of
then-
operations.
Yeah.
The times multiply comes first.
Right.
There we go.
There we go. Fixed it.
So our cards, we need to update our binding here. So this is a fun thing you may be wondering. Why didn't this throw a type checking error, right? Why? Because I had suit here, not card.suit. Why didn't that throw a type checking error? Post bindings aren't type checked.
Is that something we're going to change, or is that going to stay the same?
We don't have short-term plans to fix it, but in the long term, I would like to see that improved. So
okay, wait. But this is true. Console.log, the strongest debugging tool in JavaScript. Correct. Let's see. What's going on, Born? I see you. My guy, welcome to the party. Glad to have you in here. We're building this card game in Angular, which is great. Having a lot of fun.
All right, so we got our deck of cards.
I think so.
I will sanity check this by just saying document query selector all for SG card. And that should give me a node list of 52, which it does.
Great.
So we have all 52 cards.
Now, here, double sanity check it. Make sure you don't have any duplicates by throwing them all into a set and make sure that the...
Oh, that's a good idea. So we'll say array.from that, and then we're going to map it to... I know no one can see my dev tools. So let me do that.
Right.
Let's map that to card, and we're going to just say template string of card dot value. Or actually, no, we're not going to be able to read that. So let's just say c dot text content. So that should give us all those strings, and let's trim it. Yep, and then we're going to create a set. So we're going to say new set, and then that array should just initialize it. Yep.
Okay, great.
And then that's a set of 52. So they're all unique.
Great.
Clear that. Bring that back down. All right, so we've got our deck of cards now. It is shuffled. And so now we need to deal it to each player. So we're going to have
Okay,
to
Jeremy,
create.
time out. Time out.
Yeah. What do
We've
you
been
got?
having so much fun that it is 11:52. I'm good to go for a little bit longer if you have more time.
How long do we normally go to? Don't we go for like an hour and a half?
It's scheduled for an hour and a half, so I can go for an hour and a half
Yeah,
if you
I'll do
can.
an hour and a half.
All right, friends at home, we're gonna keep it going.
All right, so we've got our deck. We create deck here. I should refactor these out over into the card file since these are just kind of like their own function. But I'm not going to bother. We'll just hide them down there for now.
Later. Um,
Um,
I will say though, these cards look really great for some reason. I don't know why they look so aesthetic to me, but they look great.
it's just the simple HTML, JavaScript, CSS. We're not doing anything fancy. So we need to create our players, right? So let's create read-only players is equal to let's just say like deal players. So we'll create that function here.
All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to answer some questions.
Deck.
Okay, I'll get you started. Let's see. So no unit test to avoid regression. Okay, honestly, we probably should have just done some unit tests first. That would have made this really fast because we would have found problems. But this is still fun. Why do we write the functions outside the class? Right now, we're trying to make it work. Then we'll make it right. Then we'll make it fast. Will I code the next game? Yes. And then I think we're okay. Oh, what's up, Lars? Good to see you. Okay, off you go, Jeremy.
So yeah, we're importing player there. So that's gonna complain. So we are just gonna say spades is always 4 players, right? We always know this. So we're just gonna say for let I equal 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus. And then we're also gonna say our const player results equals that empty array. So we're going to say then const key for player is equal to, we're going to have to give names. So right now, let's just say player I plus 1. So that's the name. And then that player, let's go to that player real quick. I said, yeah, this is called hand. So that hand is going to be an empty array. And then we are going to say p.hand. Call it hard. I did call it hard.
Did you?
Yeah, I want hand.
Okay, wait. Why are you fixing that?
I had it right in here. Like this would have gave me an error if I had done that.
Does your tool have any cool like refactoring thing you can do?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I was just wondering if it had some built-in refactoring stuff. I know Android Studio, for example, has some really nice refactoring things you can do with symbols.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of refactorings built into WebStorm. I haven't needed any of them just here. So, okay, what's going on here? This is complaining.
This deck.
Past in deck. Yeah, this is this here. Okay, and then this isn't returning anything yet, so I'm just going to say like return empty array just to be happy for a second. Okay, so we've created our 4 players, and we actually don't need this temp array here. We can just say player results push for this temp array. Cool. So we'll create our 4 players first, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want to like actually simulate the way you would really deal these cards, and so then we're going to say for let card of deck. Where
In
actually no,
case we don't have the Joker cards, I like that you got the little image in there. No Joker cards of spades in this case.
I actually want the index for this because I'm going to use a mod to push it in. So we will say player results of I mod 4 dot hand dot push deck of I. And argument type card is not assignable to type never.
Just dot.
Boy, why is hand an array of type never?
That's what I was worried about. It's because you didn't give it a type on line 25, so it gave it a type never by default.
So I go to player. Hand is of type card array. What are you
No,
talking about?
not there. The array in 25 on line 25 of that file you were just in. You assign it an array, and that array doesn't have a type, so it's type never.
Oh, so player. Yeah, this is what I'm missing. Is that this is player array? That's what I was missing. Now it has
Okay,
the full
there you
entry.
go. I knew it was one of those. That's what I was talking about earlier with the type never. I'm like, the never gets you. It catches up with you.
Cool. So that lets us then return player results. And now we can deal players. And so now we're going to go ahead and change our template here. So instead of just printing out every card in the deck, I'll leave that there in case I want to look at it again later for debugging. We will do a similar, we'll say star ng4 equals let p of players. And we're going to say, we're just going to show, well, actually, let's say just h2 and then p dot name. And then we will list out their hand. So another ng container for let's see of hands.
Okay. And pause for 1 second after you finish this.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, let's catch the people up. So you're doing a few Angular things here that are pretty cool. Why are you using ng container instead of just throwing a section or an article here?
I mean, article would absolutely be the wrong tag because it's not an article. Section could be okay. I really just wanted to, like, I'm just debugging right now, right? I'm just validating that I am getting legitimate data out of this. And so I didn't want to put in a real DOM element here. Like, honestly, I could have put div, right? And that it is going to well, it'll print them out one per line, right? I could put span and like that'll do the same thing. I just put ng container because I'm like, I don't need a DOM element right now. I just want to print out the cards as they are.
Right, exactly. Okay, very cool. And then let's see anything else we want to make sure. Because remember, we have some people who are just learning Angular watching our stream, so we want to make sure that we keep them in the loop about things that we're doing here. Okay,
Cool.
keep going.
So now we have basically our everything is all dealt. So now we're getting into the actual game logic part, which is a little more complicated than just doing the card stuff. So we we know this stuff all works. I'm just gonna collapse everything. Control Shift minus. Why isn't that working?
Jeremy, save this code when we're done, and then can we put this on the new Angular examples repository, or maybe Angular under experiments or
I
something?
mean, yeah, I can push it to some GitHub repo, and then you can do whatever you want with it after that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we are
Okay, wait,
going.
stop.
What?
Wait. Just look at the stream. Okay. I don't know if this is a serious question or not. and I'm not laughing at you. It's just the phrasing is really funny. So what are we even doing? So one, we're using Angular to build out a spades game. It's a popular card game, and we're working on the game logic at this point. So hopefully that's helpful.
Cool.
This is really
So
good.
we know our function for creating a deck is done. We can deal players cards. We shuffle the cards. All of that is done, right? And this stuff is kind of just uh, like are validating that this works. So let's actually get into the game logic. So the way Spades works is it's played in rounds. So for first of all, we're going to have a current round, which is going to be a type number, which is going to be initialized to 0. And we are going to have bids for each of the players. So the way Spades works is you get dealt your hand, you look at it, and then you make a bid on how many tricks you're going to take. And so
Wait,
we
what'd
are
you
going
call them?
tricks.
I
Is
usually
that
say
not what it is?
books.
Let's see.
Wow, interesting. No, it's fine. It's just interesting to hear people from different regions call it different things. Yeah, so you said it said trick taking game, but I
Yeah,
said how many books do you have, and that's what we would call it. That's so funny.
and
I have to
Wikipedia
read
agrees
about
with me
this.
that they're called tricks. Each player bids on the number of tricks they expect to take.
That's wild. I'm about to ask some people on Twitter.
Uh, let's see. Oh man, we got like 61 people on the stream right now. That might be a new record for us.
Yeah.
So we got a current round, and then each round, the player is going to bid. So you know what I want in addition to a player name? I now realize is we're going to go to player, and we're just going to add an ID, which is just a number. And then yep, that's expected. So I'm just going to come up here and say let next player ID equals 0. And when we basically deal the players, we're also going to say their ID is next player ID plus plus. So now all players will have a unique ID in addition to their name, just in case anybody decides to put in
The same name.
duplicate names.
So do you literally ask in a game, Jeremy? Do you ask your partner how many tricks can you take?
So the way it works is the player who deals,
Mm-hmm.
the player to their left makes the first bid, and then you go around from there, right? You don't get to share information with your partner other than what your bid is in the order that bidding occurs, right?
Where
So
have
you
you been playing spades? This is so fascinating to me because if we were playing right now with two other people and we were on the same team, I would look at you and I would say, "How many books you got?" And you say, "I got two and a possible," and I would say, "I got three," and then the other team would say whatever, and the person who's scorekeeper would write down what we just said. That's wild that you do it so differently. Well, I guess you do it by those rules. What I'm just saying. It's just
here's the Wikipedia rules, my friend, is the player to the left of the dealer starts the bidding and continues in a clockwise direction, ending with the dealer, right? Like the whole see the way I've always played spades, right, is that there's no communication between you and your partner, right? So everything has to be just based on the bid that you made, and everything the whole game is about inference, right? Is like what can you infer about the state of everyone's hands based on what they're playing and what they bid.
so I'll say this. This reminds me a lot of Monopoly, where you have regional and like cultural rules that get
Okay.
embedded into it that like everybody kind of does different things. That's so cool though. I've never heard this, but this is awesome.
Okay. Next time we're around each other, we're gonna play spades
And Dungeons and Dragons. But yes.
and well D&D we can do remotely. Spades is
Oh
you gotta
yes,
be
maybe. Well, if we make this work, then we'll be able to do it. All
yeah, but
right.
to make this multiplayer, we're gonna have to do a separate session. We're gonna have to bring David East and put this on Firebase.
That's true.
All right. So despite our tangent about the design of spades, we're also gonna need people's bids, right? So
Right.
let's say bids. Um,
Is
and
bids a
that's gonna
part of the
start off
round, like a round object?
So yeah, we could create a round object. That's actually not a bad idea. So I'm just gonna create a new TypeScript file here. Let's call it game round. So export interface game round. And what we're going to have is, I guess we'll have a map of bids, right, for the player ID to the player bids. Well, actually, we can just call it bids. And so that's going to be a map of number to number equals, well, there's no initializing that here. Actually, I should just make this a class. I'm going to want to have this initialization logic equals new map. And then we're also going to have to say tricks taken. And we'll also say that is a map of number to number. There's the map. And that's about it, right? We can also say we're gonna encode an assumption in here at some point, but the assumption is that like the even numbered players are one team and the odd numbered players are another team.
We can make that. That sounds right.
All right. Anyway, so bids we don't have, but we are going to have rounds. So this is going to be a game round array. What are you complaining about? Yeah, so we start off with no rounds.
So, okay, so why are you figuring that out? Somebody asked how much JavaScript should they know when trying out Angular. I mean, you should be familiar with like programming constructs, and then that'll be like good enough to start. And then a lot of it you're gonna learn on the like go. Like as you're doing it, you're going to learn as you further your development. We're gonna post some links to some things that could be helpful to you in getting started with Angular in the chat. We'll do that now.
All right. Well, we've only got 20 minutes left. I'm feeling a lot less optimistic about having this in a playable state.
No, believe in yourself.
All right. I'm going to actually just go ahead and delete the everything in here because it's distracting me. And we're going to want to be able to drag and drop cards, right, into our play area.
Oh, that's fancy. Okay, do the easier way without drag and drop. You just whichever one you double click, it gets added to play area.
Oh, see that? All right. All right. We'll do it that way.
The next month we'll do the drag and drop.
All right. So we're going to come in here and the game is always going to be from the perspective of a particular player, right? So let's say that your why do I have so much stuff open?
Oh wait, I might have been vetoed. JVA says use the CDK or
yeah, that was what I was going to do. I was going to just pull in CDK.
It's going to take us 13 minutes, but go ahead.
No, it's not. But so we'll get there in a second. So I'm going to say I'm going to call this just like your player ID.
Yep, for your instance of the app, right?
Yeah. See, this is when we make this multiplayer. It's actually going to have to. This is going to be not work super well. So we're gonna. You know what? Let's actually just assume for the purposes of this demo, you're always the first player. So your player ID equals players. No, just stop players of 0.id. So you're always going to be the first player. The other ones are going to be AIs. And so let's design our game board really quick. So our game board here is going to have your hand. So we are going to, like, actually, let's bring back this. But instead of, like, for this, we're just going to say players of 0 here. Players of 0. we don't need this container. And we're not even going to put like your hand. We're just going to put your hand. Cool. So we've got that. And then we're going to want to add a click handler to this to like add cards to the play space. So let's create this like play space here. So this, I'm just going to make it a div. Class equals play space. And let's go ahead and add some styles for that in our thing here. So play space. I know that great feature of WebStorm. It auto-completed that CSS class based on what was in my template. So let's say this is going to just be like height, I don't know, 300 pixels with, you know what, this is actually going to need to be a component. So, but we'll turn it into a component in a minute.
Yeah, let's just get something working. But
One
make sure you get a. I want you to draw a table,
black,
like a tabletop with green felt in CSS.
That's a bit much. And then we kind of want this to be centered, so we'll deal with that later. I don't need to get too fancy. So this is where we want to like drag our cards. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger, but it's fine the way it is now. I don't need these dev tools. So we're gonna want to have basically 4 slots in here, and so yours is always going to be here at the bottom, and then the others are going to go clockwise around here.
That feels right.
Trying to think, what is the best way for us to like kind of position those 4 cards inside of that play area? Like, I feel like this is actually like a CSS grid thing.
I'm gonna say grid kind of makes sense, like a not 4x4. Say 3.
I'm not practiced enough with CSS grid though to do it correctly. Okay. I'm debating just like doing this with absolute positioning.
Okay, so do something fast. One other thing you could do is 3 rows with flex. The top row is a single element, the middle one is 2 elements, and the bottom one is a single element. And you can
that's not a bad idea. That's a pretty good idea. Let's see. We can.
Oh wait, somebody came in with some answers. They said do display grid and then do this other mumbo jumbo. I do not know what this means.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I've done some tutorials on CSS grid, and I'm like, cool, got it. And then a week later, I've forgotten everything. So I'm just gonna do this old school.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, sure.
Let's see. So we're gonna have the current round is actually going to need to have the played cards.
Right.
Well, no, that's not a round. That's a trick. So we're going to need to have a current trick. So we're going to say current trick.
I never understand.
Let's go back to our app photo.ts. We don't need game round here. So we're going to say this current round, and then there's also current trick.
Jeremy, I'm not trying to distract you. Keep typing, okay? Keep typing. But somebody just tweeted, "What is a trick?" I never heard of that before. So keep typing. Just say
it's in Wikipedia.
But then I heard somebody said trick. I never heard it called books. So I think the lines are gonna. As I get more data, I will update you. All right.
All right. So we're gonna take our current trick, and we are going to put ng container in here, and we're gonna ng4 equals let d of current not round trick. And we're just gonna print out the cards first. So space game card. And we're gonna say this card is equal to T. And just out of just gonna test to see if this works, right? We're gonna say we're gonna add click handler on here that is just going to say current trick dot push.
Wait, Josh, I wasn't trying to be rude. I promise. I just it looked like some cryptic syntax, even though I know that's the thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so that works. So we need to format this a little and also make it bigger because it's too small.
Okay, but
So,
that works for now, right? Like, yeah, I wouldn't even spend any more time formatting. I would focus on the code
yeah.
at this point.
Cool. So we've got that. But it's whose turn? We gotta like track whose turn is it
Right,
as
whose turn
well,
it is? Yep.
right? So
So
let's
current
do
trick,
that
we got current
by saying like
player.
active player
Yep.
index equals
Yep.
0.
Yep.
Um,
So when you click on a card, it should increase that, right?
so
Mod 4, active player index mod 4.
we actually have to figure out. No, it's get. Let's say get active player. So or let's say get first player. So this is going to be our first function.
Wait, why should it be first? Why not next?
So this is just the initialization, right? So
Okay, that's fine.
we are going to say the get WebStorm, help me out here. Great method.
Boom.
So the first player is the player who has the 2 of clubs. So for e of this dot players, go away. For c of p dot hand if c dot value equals 2 and c dot suit equals. Oh, thank you, WebStorm. It gives me the autocomplete for the special symbols because I used the string literals.
Wait, why are we going by the 2 of clubs first?
Because that's the rule.
What? What rule is that?
Whoever has the 2 of clubs plays the first on the first trick.
All right, friends, I'm going to end the stream because Jeremy's making up rules and. No, seriously, I've never heard that rule before.
That's how else would you decide who goes first?
The person, okay, so let's see, who will go first? I forgot how we decide who goes first. I think we just say person to the right or left of the dealer goes first, right? Like something like that.
Yeah.
Some weird rule.
See, Josh was saying we need a spade expert in here. I'm the spades expert in here.
You are the regional spades expert.
Let's see. The first trick club. The rules borrowed from club variation apart. Whoever possesses the lowest club, usually the 2 or 3, must open the play.
According to Wikipedia, written by some other people who
Citation needed.
Right. It's all good. Keep going. Let's see how much more we can get in 9 minutes.
All right. So starting with the active player, let's see. So we're gonna. How are we gonna do this? We're gonna just like iterate through the active players.
So what I was thinking is that so you get the first player ID. Once they click a card, it increases the current or the active player index and returns it. But you just do mod 4. That way, you never have to worry about resetting it.
Yep, exactly. But I'm thinking like what is the actual like gameplay loop here, right? Because like right now we're in a state where it's like, okay, the active player has to go. And so if the active player is an AI, th're going to need to do something, right? And they're going to have to just play a card. Like for now, we'll just have them play a card at random. So let's just say we're going to say like private make, let's just call it advanced game. right? And so we're going to have that, and we're also going to have private
What?
make AI move.
Keep going, but I would tell you that the streets are saying that you wrote that Wikipedia page. That's pretty funny. All right, that made me laugh.
All
That made me
right,
laugh.
so the AI is just going to play a card randomly.
Yep.
So let's say const AI player equals active or this dot players of this dot active player index, and they are going to um, pick one of their cards at random. Const card is equal to AI player dot hand of, and then we're gonna say math dot floor of math dot random times this is gonna be AI player dot hand dot length. I think that should do it. And then we're actually gonna also need a like private play card, right? And that's gonna say that's gonna say that's gonna take a player, and that's gonna take a card. Yeah, like
You know, Josh, don't start that because we already know that you will always go first. Unbelievable.
play card of AI player and their card.
Oh, Josh.
So we're gonna say if um, this dot current what is it, active player index not equals 0,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say this dot make AI move, and then we'll just say this dot advance game again.
So this is kind of like advanced game is kind of like our game loop that you'd have in a traditional game.
Yeah, kind of. And then when we get we'll come in here and to our template, and we've got our click handler here. So we're just going to say play card,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be players of 0,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be C for card for this card. Then that will.
Wait, how do you know which card to play though?
So you know what? It's not actually this. Advanced game doesn't happen here. It happens when a card is played.
Right. Okay, closer. Right.
And now, air player, yeah. So actually, yeah,
Wait.
this is fine.
Go back to your template. I feel like I don't get one part you're doing here.
Yeah.
So you saying let's see of players got
So we're
hand.
saying the players is 0 is always you.
Oh, you're just saying if you click any of these cards, you advance the game. Okay, I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, got you.
So, well, that broke. Let's go back here. Oh, it made it private. I actually want all of these to. I want this to be protected. Cool. And I think we're about out of time here, so we may have to
4
pick this up
minutes.
another
Do
day.
what you can in 4 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm not
because
gonna interrupt you.
I'm thinking, right? Like we gotta put some restrictions on here now, right? Because there's only certain cards are legal in certain situations.
Okay, so let's do this for the last 3 minutes. Let's just make 4 cards show up. Any 4 cards, and then we'll fix the rules.
I mean that I can already do, right?
Yeah,
That
let's
is
see.
this
Let's
dot
let's show the streets.
current trick dot push card, and we're also going to want to remove it from the.
Nope, don't even remove it.
No, that's easy. That's easy. So player dot hand dot slice is going to be player dot hand dot index
It's
of card,
Yeah.
and 1. I think that'll do it. So let's
Click
just see
sign.
that. That didn't do it.
It might be splice.
Splice. See, this is the secret is that I've worked at Google for 10 years. I've been doing web development the whole time.
Yeah, there you go.
I have to still look up the difference between slice and splice.
Okay, so that's working. Now let's get an AI card to show up.
Yeah, so we're gonna advance. So we play a card and then we advance the game. The advanced game is gonna say make AI move.
Wait, go back to line 42. Update the active player index because you have not, so it's not going to change. It's going to be
Oh
0.
yeah, active player index. So it's gonna say this active player index plus equals active player plus 1 mod 4. Right? That's what we want.
Yeah. Order the operation. Will that get in your way
Um,
for the line 42?
Maybe. Let's just do that. I think mod comes after addition and subtraction. And then also we're going to get an infinite loop if we don't bail out at 4. So we also say if this dot current trick dot length
Right.
equals 4. We would say here like advance to the next round
Right.
normally.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're just going to return and like stop the infinite loop. So if I click, oh, and then we also have to like start the game,
This is
right?
true, Rodwin.
So
I am a personal trainer. Come on, just one more. You can do it.
so
I
ng on
believe in
init,
you.
we just say this dot advanced game, right?
Perfect.
So once initialized, we start the game. So
Okay, refresh. Let's try it.
okay, cool.
Okay, we got a player to play.
Then we can play a game. Yeah, and so that's the trick.
Let's go. People in the chat give Jeremy a round of applause. He got this game working in 1 hour and 27 minutes because we did 3 minutes of talking. That's pretty good, Jeremy. All right, friends. If you all want to see more stuff like this, you got to let us know. We tried something different this week. This was really fun. Jeremy, how did you like coding this up like this?
This is fun. If I had put a little bit more thought ahead of time about what I was actually going to do with this game instead of just kind of like making it all up on the fly, it may have gone faster.
It's okay. That's all right. But okay, friends at home, I will to Jeremy's defense here. I tried to do that with him. He was like, "No, let's just do it for fun. I just want to see what we can do." So he opted out of like pre-planning, so that way we could really try this like on the fly.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that. I'm going
I think
to
it's more
pre-think about
interesting.
Uno.
You can tell me in the chat. I think it's more interesting to just see like what do we end up making up on the fly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we'll always do like live coding, but I think a mix might be cool. If we do some coding games, some playing games, I think both are cool. Yeah, next time it'll be Mark. Yeah, I'll do Uno or something, a game that I know the rules are not defined, and it'll be nothing but arguments. Jeremy, any last words for the people?
No. I will commit this and just push it up to a GitHub repo on my username on GitHub. So if you actually want to look at it for for reasons, you can.
Yeah, and then I'll link that to the video description. So people, if you come back to this video description, you'll be able to find it once he links it up. All right, friends. Well, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. Jeremy and I have other meetings and stuff to go to. So we will see you all in the next one. Be awesome, be kind to one another, and go build great apps. We'll see you.